Good evening, this is Primetime News on TV1. I'm This Alkapoge, bringing you the news for News First, where we are and always will be with the people. Let's first start off by taking a look at your headlines.
Without a free press, democracy cannot survive, says United Nations Secretary General. Rajapaksa family enriched themselves at the expense of the Sri Lankan people, reveals a US Senate report. Chatham Street flooded with protests against suppression. Young monk arrested over the murder of a senior monk in Sidua. Bids for the Galle Harbour.
And now in your top story. Protecting press freedom for democracy is the theme for International Democracy Day for the year 2022.
This year, we focus on a cornerstone of democratic societies, free, independent and pluralistic media. Attempts to silence journalists are growing more brazen by the day, from verbal assault to online surveillance and legal harassment, especially against women journalists. Media workers face censorship, detention, physical violence and even killings, often with impunity. Such dark paths inevitably lead to instability, injustice and worse. Without a free press, democracy cannot survive. Without freedom of expression, there is no freedom. On Democracy Day and every day, let us join forces to secure freedom and protect the rights of all people everywhere.
This year, Democracy Day will focus on the importance of media freedom to democracy, peace and delivering on the Sustainable Development Goals. UNESCO has reported that 85% of the world's population experienced a decline in press freedom in their country in the past 5 years. Media globally are increasingly facing attacks online and offline, increasing detention, the use of defamation laws, as well as cybersecurity or hate speech laws to curb online expression, the growing use of strategic lawsuits against public participation laws and surveillance technologies to target them and hamper their work. Attempts to silence journalists are growing more brazen by the day as they often pay the ultimate price. From 2016 to the end of 2021, UNESCO recorded the killings of 455 journalists who either died for their work or while on the job.
Sandhya Eknaliguda, the wife of Prageet Eknaliguda, told the UN Committee on Enforced Disappearances that many Sri Lankans await justice for their missing ones and some for more than 4 decades.
Many Sinhala, Tamil and Muslim women are searching for their missing loved ones throughout the country. Among them, the Tamil mothers from the north have been at forefront of the continuous struggle for justice. They too have had to face many obstacles to obtain help and assistance from state institutions. Can you imagine the harassment these Tamil-speaking mothers must face, given the harassment I myself had to go through despite being a Sinhala-speaking woman? Though nearly 4 decades have elapsed since 1990 and many commissions have been appointed to date, no form of justice has been delivered to victims of enforced disappearances and their families. Can it be expected that the current president, while as Prime Minister in 2017, who irresponsibly claimed all disappeared persons should be assumed dead or are abroad, will deliver justice? In a country where impunity is the unofficial adopted policy in the midst of poverty, constant pursuit and intimidation, the only thing the victims can do now is to cry and lament while pursuing their struggle on the country's streets. Despite the constant fears and pleas of my children to join them abroad and the ever-present threats, how do I leave all this behind? Once I'm gone, they will quite easily fully erase the case of Prageet's disappearance. Therefore, on behalf of us all, I request your support to request Sri Lanka to take action immediately to set up a mechanism that we can trust and finally delivers the truth and justice that we seek.
The state parties, such as Sri Lanka, which have ratified the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearances, have the international legal obligation to apply the Convention and consider as a matter of priority its full implementation. We expect the authorities of Sri Lanka to deliver their report on the implementation of the convention, which was expected in 2018, already 4 years of delay. Sri Lanka, as all state parties, should take appropriate steps to ensure that women, as relative of the disappeared person, are protected against all ill treatment or intimidation as a consequence of the complaint or the evidence given, with special attention to women as relative of disappeared person in context of their struggle to resolve the disappearance of members of their family.
Several U.S. senators, including the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, introduced a Senate resolution calling for a comprehensive international approach to address Sri Lanka's current political and economic crisis. Senator Patrick Leahy in the report noted that the Rajapaksa family enriched themselves at the expense of the Sri Lankan people, ruthlessly silencing their opponents, inciting ethnic tensions and leaving the country in economic shambles. He added that after years of civil war and government mismanagement and abuse, Sri Lanka needs a government that is committed to ethnic tolerance, equitable economic development, human rights and justice, adding that it should also be the focus of US policy. The Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chair Menendez said that the resolution calls attention to the devastating political and economic turmoil plaguing the people of Sri Lanka and emphasized that the international community must continue to provide robust support and ensure that accountability for war crimes and respect for human rights in Sri Lanka remains top priorities. It urges Sri Lankan security forces to respect the Sri Lankans' right to protest peacefully and President Ranil Wickremesinghe to work with the opposition parties and ethnic minority groups in efforts to address the crisis. Counsel appearing for the former Finance Secretary has requested court to dismiss a petition against those responsible for the economic crisis.
President's Counsel Nihal Jayawardena, appearing on behalf of former Finance Secretary S.R. Atigala, requested the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka to dismiss the petitions filed seeking action against the political authority and state officers responsible for leading the country to bankruptcy without permitting those petitions to be taken up for examination. The President's Counsel said that his client cannot be held responsible for the decisions that were taken under Parliament approval based on government policies. The petitions were filed by Chandra Jayaratna and Julian Bowling, among others. These petitions were called up in the presence of Chief Justice Jayantha Jayasuriya, Justices Buwanekalu Viharaya, Vijit Malalgoda, LTB Dehidenia and Mudur Fernando. Former Finance Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, Basil Rajapaksa, former Central Bank Governor Ajit Niwad Cabral and W.D. Lakshman, former President Secretary P.B. Jayasundara, among others, have been named as respondents in the petitions. The petitions will be taken up for consideration once again on Friday the 16th.
Multiple women's rights organizations protested against suppression in Colombo today.
Women's rights organizations, including the Mothers of the Arakalayo movement, protested opposite the Fort railway station for approximately 1 hour on Thursday afternoon. The power of women can defeat any other power in society. If he does not believe in that, we would like to tell Ranil Rajapaksa to be prepared to step down soon. Thereafter, they proceeded to the police headquarters with the intention of handing over a letter demanding the end to illegal suppression. However, they were obstructed by the Fort Police and the Riot Police at Chatham Street. Thereafter, 6 people were allowed to enter the police headquarters to hand over the letter. They must call for elections to elect a proper government. At a time where there is many issues in the country, they are engaged in suppression. Our request is to end suppression. All those present here are mothers. After handing over the letter, the group dispersed.
National organizer for the Youth for Change organization made a complaint to the Human Rights Commission claiming that the Sri Lankan authorities violated his fundamental rights by arresting him on the 9th of September. I was arrested on the 9th. Police officers, including 3 senior police officers, attacked me and threatened me in the jeep. That is why I am at the Human Rights Commission to make a complaint.
The UN Special Rapporteur on Contemporary Forms of Slavery, delivering his report to the UN Human Rights Council, raised concern of living conditions of Sri Lankan workers, especially in tea plantations.
One of the main concerns relates to the labor and living conditions of workers. In tea plantation, for example, I was disturbed to learn that women generally have to work twice as long as men to earn the same salary due to the low wages of plucking tea leaves. I also found that the caste-based discrimination persists in some areas of the country where workers experience similar obstacles. In addition, I identified indicators of forced labor in the garment industry and domestic work, among others. A major issue of concern is sexual harassment and violence against female workers, which are not often reported due to fear of reprisals and a lack of trust in existing complaint mechanisms. Many workers also rely on exploitative microfinancing companies as their low wages do not align with the rising cost of living in Sri Lanka. Further, more needs to be done to protect Sri Lankan nationals who travel abroad to work. I discovered that Sri Lankan diplomatic missions abroad are not always well equipped to protect Sri Lankan migrant workers who have been exploited, and there is scope to improve reintegration and support programs.
Sri Lanka also responded to the concerns raised by the UN Special Rapporteur on contemporary forms of slavery.
The government of Sri Lanka is aware of the challenges facing the plantation sector employees from all ethnic communities and have taken a number of steps through the relevant line ministry to mitigate these challenges. It must be emphasized that the remaining challenges are not linked to the origin or ethnicity of the employees but are common issues that the government is cognizant of and is endeavoring to resolve. With regard to the reference made by the Special Rapporteur to the vulnerable financial status of rural women, the government of Sri Lanka wishes to state that several progressive steps have been taken to alleviate poverty and indebtedness among women in rural areas. Regarding the concern expressed in the Special Rapporteur's report that the EU GSP Plus benefits are not passed down to workers, it must be emphasized that over the years GSP Plus benefits have led to the growth of employment opportunities, and this has helped to empower grassroots level vulnerable communities, including women, as well as to enhance their living conditions. The government of Sri Lanka accords high priority to the welfare of migrant workers. Sri Lankan migrant workers can lodge complaints from any part of the world through the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment and its online branch network in Sri Lanka, as well as through the eConnect app.
Sri Lanka police arrested a monk over the murder of Venerable Nadagamue Mahanamatero, the chief incumbent of the Vattava Nandarama temple in Sidua. The suspect was arrested when he attempted to travel overseas.
Crime Watch.
The remains of Venerable Nadagamue Mahanamatera, the chief incumbent of the Vattava Sri Nandarama Viharasthana in Sidua, was discovered inside a room at the temple. Last evening, the body was blindfolded and a cloth was used to cover the late Thera's mouth. The acting magistrate of Negombo conducted the magisterial inquest today, and the Sri Lanka police suspect that the murder may have been committed 4 days ago. Sri Lanka police said that the monk who was arrested over the murder had sold the Defender SUV and a car owned by the deceased monk and attempted to travel overseas. The suspect was arrested at the Bandaranaike International Airport when he attempted to travel to Dubai, and he was produced before the Negombo Magistrates Court this evening. Police suspect that the monk may have obtained the assistance of another couple to commit the crime. The post-mortem examination on the remains of the late Venerable Nadagamue Mahanamatera will take place at the Negombo District General Hospital.
Crime Watch.
Let's now cross over to a short commercial break and come back for more news.
News First, main sponsor.
Anka eke araksita iti ginipetti. Surya ginipetti.
නිවෙසපුරා ගලන මේ සතුට සුරක්ෂිත කරන්නේ ඉස්ලාම් ඉන්සයිට්. ඉස්ලාම් ජීවයයි ජලයේ ජීවිතේ.
President Wickremesinghe paid his last respects to the late L.H. Creasy Silva, the father of the Chief of Defence Staff, General Shavindra Silva.
President Wickremesinghe offered his condolences to General Shavindra Silva and family members over the passing of L.H. Creasy Silva when he visited his residence in Matale today. Late Creasy Silva was 93 years old at the time of his demise. He was the chairman of the SLTB from 1989 to 1993. The final rites of late Creasy Silva took place at the Matale Public Cemetery on Thursday evening.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa says that the current president is a hostage of the Rajapaksa family.
Look at how the members of the Pohotua and their shadows acted when the people finally stood up. First the crow left, afterwards the Prime Minister left, and after that the President left. Was there a change after that? There is no difference. The current President was appointed by the 134 who want to protect the Rajapaksa family. What is he doing now? Today he is a hostage. Today we have a Rajapaksa shadow government. The victims of the April 21st attacks got 1 million rupees as compensation. The ministers and MPs whose houses were damaged had gotten estimates for the losses in millions and more. The opposition leader expressed these views at the opening ceremony of the main office of the Samagi Jana Balavegia in Ampara.
Multiple industries convened a media briefing in Colombo together.
A joint media briefing regarding the nutrition of the people and the industries in the country was held on Thursday. Can people even purchase a kilogram of fish? A kilogram of fish costs over 1,000 rupees. A kilo of bananas is over 400 rupees. This country does not have a leadership today. You should be ashamed of yourselves. You are wearing those expensive clothes at the expense of the people. You are traveling in those expensive vehicles after sacrificing the people who are working overseas. I am speaking about you who created a country where children have no food to eat. If you are trying to sell off the country, the youth of this country are waiting to stop that. Dr. Chamal Sanjeeva spoke about the threat faced by children in consuming a nutritious diet.
A survey conducted by the Medical Research Institute revealed that about 20,000 children below the age of 5 are facing a threat of severe malnutrition. Another 27,000 children are suffering with malnutrition. It has been revealed that in the next 5 years, about 500,000 children in the country will be food insecure, and they will have to face serious issues with getting proper nutrition. A family of 5 has to spend about 2,500 rupees per meal.
The national organizer of the National Dairy Farmers Movement, Chamli Jairatna, spoke about the challenges faced by their industry.
A bottle of drinking yogurt that was priced between 60 to 70 rupees now has to be sold at 150 rupees. A bottle that was priced between 7 and 10 rupees has now been priced at 40 rupees. When they have destroyed our economy before our very own eyes, we still continue to go behind them.
The chairman of the All Ceylon Fisheries Trade Union, Aruna Roshantha, spoke about the current situation of the fisheries industry.
Why do you have to purchase a kilo of salaya fish between 700 and 800 rupees? Why is a kilo of sea fish priced between 4,000 to 5,000 rupees? Why is a kilo of parao fish priced between 3,000 to 4,000 rupees? Politicians in Sri Lanka have stolen, but they have never stolen this much. That is the reason why we are facing this situation. In short, if I am going to sea today, I have to bring back 300,000 rupees worth of fish for the government because of the increase in the price of fuel.
These are the views expressed by the chairman of the National Agrarian Collective, Anuradha Tennakun.
Ranil Wickremesinghe is doling out free goods after becoming president. He is freely giving out ministerial portfolios. We have never heard of things like this. After a freeloading president took power, we can see the thieves and criminals who were chased away by the Aragalaya coming back and playing their usual games. But we, the people, will unite again and stand against the president and the entire parliament.
Chairman of the Southern Province Small and Medium Scale Bakery Owners Association, Kamal Pereira, expressed these views.
Since there is no flour in the market, black market traders are importing flour from India and selling them arbitrarily. The price of a kilo of flour in the market has increased to 450 rupees. There is no way that we can purchase flour at 450 rupees, make bread from that and then feed the people of our country.
Chairman of the National Livestock Production Union, Sujiva Dhammika, expressed these views.
With the expense incurred by the government to maintain 38 state ministers every year, we can nurture 200 dairy heifers in our country. We will be able to get between 55,000 to 75,000 litres of milk per day.
The Economic Centre of the Samangi Jana Balawegaya convened a media briefing in Colombo.
How can Sri Lanka obtain loans from the IMF or even get foreign direct investments when the UN has accused the Sri Lankan government of so many economic and financial crimes? Our credibility is in question here. The government has appointed 37 state ministers at a time like this. Can we even afford to maintain these state ministers? But the government is increasing taxes, especially VAT was increased to not 15% but 18%, adding further burden to the people's shoulders. The general public will have to bear the burden of all of these indirect taxes as well. That is not what should have been done. They should have further extended the tax bracket. They are imposing more and more taxes on the working class and at the same time giving quite a number of tax exemptions to the elite. That's their friends and family. This is what you call an economic crime. We strongly demand just action against such activities. How is Sri Lanka going to redeem itself from these economic crimes? An economic crime is when the government loots public funds and uses them for personal gain and then smuggles such money abroad or whitewashes it in Sri Lanka. A system needs to be implemented to recover these funds into the treasury by exercising the law. The president is silent on the matter. We need an independent office to carry out that task. We have requested for a special committee to be appointed in Parliament to inquire into these economic and financial crimes and exercise the law against such perpetrators. It has been months, but neither the President nor his government has taken any action regarding this matter. We will engage in this matter from our end in the near future. Those who committed economic and financial crimes and bankrupted the nation are given ministerial portfolios once again. The only difference is Ranil Wickremesinghe is the president now. Everybody knows that Basil Rajapaksa is the man behind the act, even though he is not a member of parliament. Everyone knows that D.V. Chanaka switched his ministry after a small consultation with Basil. I am not sure if it is true or not. I heard someone say it.
The chief incumbent of the Mihintale Rajamaha Vihara spoke to the media on Thursday. This government must be dissolved within 6 months. If not, you will have to leave under circumstances similar to the exit of Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Let the people know when the government will be dissolved. Then the people will tolerate the destructive actions of those in the government. If this continues, the fate that will befall you and this entire group will be worse than that of Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Members of all parties will have to face this. The groups that are coming forward as new parties, all of them are thieves. Look at how much assets they own. They have increased tariffs and are nourishing their extravagant lifestyles and are putting the noose on the necks of the general public. Shame on you. The 225 members must resign. They must resign because of the harm that they have done to the people. We can't be fooled anymore. We have been fooled enough.
News First with the people.
මොකද මහත්තයා මේ
නෑ මේ ගෙදර සිංක් එකේ
අයි මහත්තයා ස්ලෝන් නෙවෙයිද දැම්මේ
හදිස්සියට බාලා පයිප් එකක් දැම්මේ නැද්ද මුදලාලි ඊයේ පෙරේදා කඩේ රිපෙයාර් කරන්න ගෙනාපු ගම් චුට්ටක්
මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට හොඳම විසඳුම ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටක් හැබැයි ඉක්මනින් දාගන්න ස්ලෝන් පයිප් එක
ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටා හැම ගෙදරකම සිටිය යුතු ජලනල කාර්මිකයා දැන් රංගම ග්‍රොසරියෙන් මිලදී ගන්න.
Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation Nimal Siripala de Silva announced that international bids have been called for the development of the Galle Harbour section that belongs to the Sri Lanka Ports Authority.
Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva made the announcement whilst in a discussion with the employees of the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Aviation.
We have called for international bids to develop the port. We have received bids from 3 parties so far. The government cannot bear this cost, but we need to get this done at the same time. We are not in any way selling the port. We are entering into an agreement with one of these parties to invest in our port for the development. They will receive an income and so will we. This is not a sale.
The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and the Ministry of Agriculture entered into an MOU on fertilizer today.
The Food and Agriculture Organization representative for Sri Lanka and the Maldives, Vimalendra Sharan, and the Secretary to the Ministry of Agriculture, Rohana Pushpakumara, signed a memorandum of understanding regarding the beneficiary selection and distribution of fertilizer to paddy farmers in Sri Lanka. As the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, through the support of its partners, is procuring urea and triple superphosphate fertilizers to improve the production of the upcoming cultivation seasons and strengthen food security in Sri Lanka. The MOU provides a framework for the selection of beneficiaries and distribution of the essential agricultural inputs for paddy farmers in Sri Lanka through the Ministry of Agriculture.
Today is day 11 of the 4th edition of the Divisavya program supported by LOLC Holdings, seeking to support the most impoverished communities in Sri Lanka. Today's program was carried out centering the Mathara district.
The program was launched in 4 areas of the Mathara district. The aim of this program is to support low-income earners to get nutritious meals on a daily basis. Under the Divisavya program, essential goods are being distributed to low-income families facing serious financial difficulties across Sri Lanka.
Vanithabhimana 2022, an awards program to empower the women of Sri Lanka, was launched today for the 3rd time by Newsfirst together with the NDB Bank.
Vanithabhimana 2022 is an awards program that is aimed to empower the women of Sri Lanka and recognize their efforts. The 2022 edition of Vanithabhimana was launched after successfully completing the 2020 and 2021 programs. Women will be recognized under 8 separate categories at the provincial level. The agreement for Vanithabhimana 2022 was signed in Colombo on Thursday evening. Dimantha Senaviratna, Director and Chief Executive Officer of the NDB Bank, and several other officials were present at the event representing the NDB Bank. Suranga B.M. Jalat, Group Director of HR and Legal, and Group Director Siobhan Daniel, among others, represented the Capital Maharaja Group. Director General of the Department of Manpower and Employment Anusha Gokula Fernando, the Chief Adjudicator of the provincial level competition, was also present for the launch. Vice Chancellor of the University of Colombo, Senior Professor H.D. Karuna Ratna, will serve as the Chief Adjudicator of the institutional and professional competitions of Vanithabhimana 2022. Applications are now accepted for the provincial level competition of Vanithabhimana 2022. Contestants can download applications from the Newsfirst website or can request for one at any NDB bank branch across Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka Vanithabhimana.
As a bank, we could have taken a decision not to join with this program for the third edition, given the current economic situation in the country. However, despite the difficulties, we decided to continue with this program as a partnership between NDB Bank, Sirasa and Newsfirst, because it is the need of the country to empower the women, then allow them to pursue their work.
Capital Maharaja Samuha Sangvidane.
If you take a look at the Capital Maharaja Group, the number of female employees is high. At the same time, if you look at the director board, half of them are females. I don't think there is any other group apart from the Capital Maharaja Group that takes such an initiative to empower women and launch this Vanithabhimana concept with the NDB. If you look at the economic collapse, contributions by women towards the recovery is very high.
Sri Lanka Cricket convened a media briefing for the first time since their historic Asia Cup win.
We entered the tournament with a positive mindset. We did not panic just because we lost the first game. We had faith in ourselves to play game by game and qualify for the next round. All we needed was one win and we knew how to capitalize on that. That faith is rooted within the team. We are a diversified unit, whether it's batting or bowling. That aided me as a captain to win the tournament. Former Test captain Mahela Jayawardena has been appointed as the team's consultant for the upcoming World Cup. Views were also expressed regarding the monetary benefits earned by Sri Lanka cricket during the Asia Cup. The most we can earn if the tournament was played in Sri Lanka is 2.5 million. It was the Asian Cricket Council that determined that it was unsafe to conduct the tournament in Sri Lanka at that time. The issues didn't resolve in time. Many officials were reluctant to come to Sri Lanka. We managed to generate more from that. From the time we were elected, the cricket board didn't have more than 2.5 million in our fixed deposits. We have 40 million now. Even the New Zealand cricket board has only $35 million with them. Outsiders know how much the cricket board has now. They are trying to sling mud at us and try to bring the Sri Lanka cricket down because they are greedy for the money. They try to bring out an old issue and appoint an interim committee and loot all the money and end up bankrupting the SLC.
Roger Federer has announced that he will retire from the ATP Tour and Grand Slams following the Laver Cup next week in London. The last few years of Federer's career have been marred by a series of injuries as he underwent 2 knee surgeries in 2020 and another after he was defeated by Hubert Hurkacz in 2021 Wimbledon quarter-final. Federer's long career coincided with those of 22-time Grand Slam winner Rafael Nadal and 21-time Grand Slam winner Novak Djokovic, with whom he dominated men's tennis for the last 2 decades. And that's a wrap of the Prime Time News here on TV1. As always, thank you for watching, stay safe, take care and have a good night.